Freckles said that after seeing Luciano at the gas station, on my way towards him, I saw a piece of iron pipe on the ground and I took it up. I reached up to Luciano and started to put it on, and every man around him scatter. So what Freckles was saying, that him reach up to Luciano and started beating with the pipe iron, and every man around Luciano run based on the rage that Freckles was in. Blessed the people. Welcome back. You see me? So peeps, today we have a very interesting entertainer to talk about. You know what I mean? Personally, when it comes to talent, you know what I mean, one of my favorite entertainers. And the artist that we're going to talk about is Luciano. You know what I mean? We're going to talk a bit about his musical journey. You know what I mean? How his career started and how it is going. As also we're going to talk about some of his struggles, especially his encounter with the law. You know what I mean, people? There's a time when Luciano end up getting himself into problem as a result of harboring a wanted man at his premises. You get the massive people. You know, Luciano was arrested and charged for harboring a fugitive. So people, Jepta McClearmont, otherwise known as Steppa John, otherwise known as Luciano, was born on the 20th of October in the year 1964 in the parish of Manchester. He is from an area known as Daviton. You know, Luciano is a singer, songwriter. Luciano is a roots reggae artist. You know what I mean? Rastafarian who sing conscious music, similarly to Garnet Silk and others. Luciano is the 7th of 9 children for his parents. He was brought up in a strict 7-day Adventist home. You know what I mean? He had to adhere to all the rules of the 7-day Adventist, as also he had to attend church every Saturday because his parents were strong believers in their religion. So Luciano, just like most other reggae dancehall entertainer, started his musical journey in church. As also, he used to always be singing in his community and school settings. Until in the year 1992, Luciano recorded his first single. Even though he stepped away from the church, Luciano still held on to the values that he learned from his parents and the teachings of the church. You know, Luciano is an individual that believes that there is a God, there is a creator, and he oftentimes sings about the creator. His first single was titled Ebony and Ivory. During the time when he released this single, Luciano went by the name Steppa John because Steppa John was his first artist name. This was on the Aquarius record label, followed by a split album with DJ Presley, now credited as Luciano, for producer Sky High. His first release as Luciano included the hit single Give My Love a Try, produced at Castro Brown's New Name Studio, followed by others produced by Freddie McGregor, Blacker Dread, and Sly and Robbie, including the 1993 #1 UK hit single Shake It Up Tonight. Luciano started working with Philip Fatis Burrell, releasing singles Chant Out and Poor and Simple, with the album titled Moving Up following in late 1993. In 1994, he cut singles for Musclehead and Louis Culture before returning to work with Burrell for a series of successful singles and the album One Way Ticket, which saw Luciano at the forefront of the Rasta Renaissance in dancehall music. The renewal of Rastafarian music in dancehall came in the early 1990s with Tony Rebel and Garnet Silk, two very talented singers. So after Garnet Silk passed away in 1994, the fans and supporters of reggae and dancehall music looked up to Luciano to take the baton, you know what I mean, to take over the spot that Garnet Silk had filled, which is to sing conscious music and uplifting music, educating the people and guiding them in the right way. Luciano, knowing that it is not very easy to fill the shoes of Garnet Silk, as also to live up to the expectations that the people have of him, because you know Garnet Silk was like no other. So Luciano admitted that Garnet Silk was like a father to him, a mentor, a tutor. So Luciano know that he had his work cut out for him. So you know Luciano going at the hills for a while and go meditate, you know what I mean, to get some inspiration and to get the gift, you know what I mean, of music that Garnet Silk had passed off, leaving, you know what I mean, people. And Luciano find some more hit songs because the following year brought the smashing hit album titled Where There Is Life, and this album was done for Chris Blackwell of Island Records. This album contained hit songs such as It's Me Again Ja, which was a #1 hit song in Jamaica, and another song titled Who Could It Be? Big hit songs for Luciano. Luciano recorded a second album for Island Records in the year 1996. This album was titled The Messenger, and this is where he got the name The Messenger from. So Luciano is a self-proclaimed messenger. This album was largely compiled of most of his hit singles. The majority of his recordings in the mid to late 90s was for Burrell and the Exterminator label, which by that time included artists such as Sizzla Kalonji, Mikey General, Firehouse Crew, as well as recordings from Capleton and Cocoa Tea. Along with the work on the 2 albums for Island Records, the majority of Luciano's hits produced by Burrell were featured on 1999's Sweep Over My Soul. Burrell and Luciano parted ways in 1999. By the year 2001, Luciano had released 2 live albums as well as 2 compilation albums alongside Sizzla Kalonji and Anthony B. Luciano's album titled A New Day also received a nomination for the Grammy at the 2002 Grammy Awards for Best Reggae Album. And as you know, people, Luciano continued to produce good and quality conscious music to the lovers and supporters of dancehall and reggae music. You get me, I say, people, globally, all over the world. Luciano has had a successful career in music. You know, Luciano always relevant, always a sing quality music. And as a reward for his contribution to music and entertainment, Luciano was awarded with the Order of Distinction in the rank of officer in the year 2007. You know, Luciano was elated that his hard work was being recognized. So Luciano continued to remain positive in the music. You know, Luciano get respect all over the world. Luciano was even given some land in Gambia, just like a lot of other reggae dancehall artists who go to Gambia. You know, Gambia is similar to Jamaica, and the Gambians are always willing to give something to the Jamaican artists. You know, Frankie Paul also was one artist who used to live there. So now we're gonna look a bit on some of the rocky terrains that Luciano had to go through in life. You know what I mean? Things was never always easy. In March 2009, Luciano was charged for harboring a fugitive at his place of residence. Yeah, people. A fugitive is an individual who is wanted by the security forces for crimes that he had committed. In this case, this individual was wanted for about 10 murders. You understand, people? And this is a man that was at Luciano's premises. So, people, Luciano was arrested following a shootout between a gunman and police officers at Luciano's home in March. The reggae star was charged with harboring a fugitive. The gunman, whose name is Andrew Sr., also known as Conqueror, shot and injured 3 police officers in the incident, which eventually ended when he himself was killed by the police. This individual, Conqueror, was killed after a 2-hour-long standoff with members of the security force. You know, it is also alleged that Conqueror had taken Luciano's wife as also one of his child hostage in the house, basically using them as shield. After a while, he ended up releasing them from in the house and let them out. Senior was about 30 years old at the time of the incident, and he was wanted for between 10 and 8 murders, to include, close to the time of his death, the murder of a 65-year-old lady, Gloria McLean, in the Grand Spen, Shortwood Road area. And several months before that, police sources said that Senior was believed to have also slashed another woman's throat. You understand, people? So this is an individual who is a known violent producer, a ruthless violence producer. And this individual managed to elude the police on several occasions, you know what I mean, escaping several dragnets, both in Kingston as also in rural Jamaica, you know what I mean. Every time the police get information and go on an operation, this individual end up making good his escape. The location of Luciano's premises where this wanted man was found is at 21 Westminster Crescent in Kingston. This operation was carried out about 4:45 a.m. in the pre-dawn. A point to note, people, Luciano's house is also a recording studio, so you know people from time to time will be at the studio. But you know, because you know how it is when it comes to artists, you know what I mean, people. And as I said before, people, 3 police officers were shot and injured during this operation, just to show how serious this individual actually is. Because as the report said, Senior was armed with a high-powered rifle as also enough ammunition to start a small mutiny. You get to me as a people. So this was a very, very serious individual, you know what I mean, that Luciano had at his premises. One of the police officers received a gunshot in his mouth, which exited through his neck. Another received a bullet wound to the groin, and another was shot in the stomach. So people, it is obvious that this was no ordinary individual, you know what I mean. This was an individual who had his mind made up that he is not going to prison, he is gonna fight his way out. And this is the kind of individual that the legendary singer have around him. So now people, I'm gonna let you hear the comment that Luciano made after the wanted man was killed at his house. So this is Luciano's comment, and I quote, "You see what happened? My gate is always open to Tom, Dick and Harry," meaning that anybody can come to his house at any time. Him is always welcoming to people. That's what he's basically saying in that aspect there. Continuing. "But I have learned that that is my own peril. Out of the kindness of my heart, I open my home to people, but not everyone that comes in has good intentions. That's the situation I found myself in." So basically, dear people, Luciano is saying that everyone can come to his house. He's always willing to help, you know what I mean. You can just walk in and you can just hang out and chill out and have a good time. Luciano has no problem with doing that. He is willing to help the world. He continues by saying, "This was someone I started helping from years ago. He was trying to change his life. He had children, but I got caught up in his situation. This man was wanted by the police, but he was not advertised as a wanted man." So in a nutshell, people, there, Luciano was basically saying that, yeah, the man is wanted, but the man was not published as a wanted man in the media. Hence, he does not know that this individual is wanted. Well, that's his statement. Whether you believe it or not, Luciano say him never know say the man a wanted man. You know what I mean? Him know as a youth we get involved in some things from time to time, but him says a youth that has children and is trying to change his life and he's been trying to help him. So Luciano say him never know the man wanted. So Luciano further went on to say, "The government acknowledged me as a man who was worthy of being given the order of distinction, a man who has respect in the community. So, when they learned that I had a wanted man at my place, they should have approached me better than they did, rather than accosting my property the way they did. Even the inspector told me that after the case is over, I could sue the authorities for reparation of my house and for the way that they damaged my property and defamed my character. So I know my rights, but for now, I just swing low and take it easy." So the way that the security forces went about handling this situation was really barbaric. Remember, you know, people, this is the same operation during which 3 police officers were shot and injured. This is Luciano's statement. Right there, people, Luciano was basically saying that he's an upstanding citizen, one who has received the order of distinction because of his contribution to reggae music and to Jamaica as a whole. You know what I mean? So if the police had information that a wanted man was his friend and at his place, the police should have contacted him and let him know that they are going to come for his friend. You know what I mean, people? Well, that's what he said in a statement he made to the papers years ago. Luciano continued by saying, "The prosecutors have nothing on me. My record is clean. They're accusing me of harboring a fugitive, but it wasn't like that. The brother was looking for a safe haven, and unfortunately, he came to my property." And when Luciano was asked the question if he regrets opening his home to everyone, this was his response. "When you are seen as a leader, people will always come to you with their problems," he says. "Some people go to pastors, look at Juglad Dodos," he revealed. Dodos, Reverend Al Miller. So Luciano is basically saying that he doesn't believe that he's at fault for having that individual around him, because when people want help, people are going to go to those who they see as leaders for help. So I mean, I guess in his view, he was looking at it like as if he was doing a favor for his community as also country. He continued by saying, "That's the thing. People who need help aren't going to the government because the government will lock them down. That's the position that a lot of artists find themselves in. People come to us for help, but this situation has really opened my eyes. It's nice to be kind, but you have to be careful also." Luciano himself was not at his property during the time of the shootout. However, when he was asked if he was even a bit frightened by the fact that if he was there, he could have been caught in the crossfire between the security forces and the gunman, this was his response. "The various leaders in Africa have to recognize this need," he says. "Once the leaders realize that Africa was once a mighty nation, they'll realize that they need to come together as a nation. The so-called leaders of the world are calling for a one world order. So why not one Africa? Why should a man from South Africa need a visa to get into Ethiopia? It's a joke. We can't just turn a blind eye to things. We can't just turn a blind eye to this." Basically, people, Luciano did not deny knowing that this individual has issues and is a possible violent producer. However, Luciano basically is saying that he believes that the youths can change, and in my opinion, I think that was what Luciano was striving for. You get to say, people, for change and believing that the youth can actually convert to something better, you know what I mean, make better of their life, you get me. But people, there are others who also say that this individual is actually Luciano's bodyguard, you know what I mean, and this is the man around Luciano where govern him thing, and this is the man that make sure say everything alright, you understand, people. So some people were saying that this man a Luciano bad man and security. They even spoke to an incident which involved Luciano and an engineer slash producer by the name of Clayton Trench, aka Freckles. So based on my understanding of this individual, Freckles was an individual who used to be a studio engineer as also a music producer. And them kind of man that will normally jump around artists, you know what I mean? If a little dub program for run, him can organize it. It's a little man of people we go through from time to time to get bookings for artists, you know what I mean? He's a man who have contacts other places in the world where him communicate with people. So you know, say if an artist out in the world and them maybe want to do a show or so, him have a little connect where him can connect them and get them thing done, you understand? So based on my understanding, he was that type of individual. Because you know, most of the time when you deal with artists, you have to go through somebody around them. You get me, I say, people, because artists are not that easy to get to as well. Maybe as well a lot of people think. You know what I mean? Most of the time artists have other things to deal with, you know, as somebody around them you have to try to get to, because you don't really get artists on phone like that. You see what I say, people. So you know what I mean? At one point Luciano was on a tour in Australia when Freckles assisted him in making some money, you know what I mean, getting some shows, doing some dub plate and so on and so forth. And he was supposed to give Freckles a portion of the money that he made, 30%, you know what I mean. And they had some disagreements which eventually led to them getting physical at one point. You know what I mean? It even led to a point where it's alleged that Freckles was beaten by Luciano and members of his team, as also Freckles had retaliated and flagged Luciano almost to death with a piece of pipe iron, you know what I mean, people. But we're gonna look on the statement according to Freckles. So according to Freckles, this is what happened. He and Luciano, who is a singer known for his love and righteous music, had a dispute over money which he says was owed to him by the singer for work done during the tour of Australia. Despite several attempts to collect all that was due to him to resolve the matter and heal the breach, this never happened. And to add insult to injury, Freckles says he was beaten to a pulp by Luciano and some of his followers at Luciano's office. He recalled that he was on his way to the airport to catch a flight to Washington to pick up visas for persons going on a US tour, when he got a call from Luciano asking him to meet him at his office. He said that he went to the office where he was greeted with love by Luciano, who hugged him. He said Luciano then called his manager, who knew all about what had happened in Australia. The manager took the hot seat and admitted that he was the one who encouraged me to insist on getting all my money from Lucy. Freckles further stated that he had lined up a whole heap of things for Lucy while on tour, thus helping the singer to earn extra money. I got him dub plate work and even wrote a song for him and another for Babandi. Lucy was supposed to pay me 30% as commission, but after I collected the money and handed it over to him, he then told me that the tour didn't work out so well and he wanted me to take less than 30%. I agreed, said Freckles. Freckles said that he told Luciano's manager what had transpired, and the manager was adamant that Luciano should honor his agreement with Freckles and pay him. When the manager told Lucy that, he told me to make sure to get all my money because what he was asking in principle was wrong. Lucy get all upset and shouted, "Greedy him, greedy." At that point, I told him that I had a plane to catch and I was leaving. On my way out, one of his men chucked me and I chucked him back. Then Lucy chucked on me, tear off my turban, all couple of my locks from out of my beard, them tear out, said Freckles. As he recalled his beating, he said he was chopped in the back and sustained serious injury to one of his fingers, which was almost severed. An operation had run him at that time over 700,000, and he was also doing physiotherapy 2 times per week. He also made it known that he was a single parent who was totally responsible for his young daughter. He says, "She goes everywhere with me." He explained, adding that he lost a portion of money in cash plus, which set him back tremendously. He says he has never asked Luciano for money towards medical expense, but a singer who knew the story checked Luciano for assistance for him. But he was reportedly told that the boy deserved the flogging. Freckles said that he put the incident out of his mind and was trying to get on with his life. But then fate stepped in. He was at the studio doing some work when a guitarist who happened to have witnessed the beating when Luciano and the others were flogging him brought up the story. Freckles said that everything came back to him and he felt as if fire went right through every part of his body. He said, "Honestly, 5 minutes later, I left the studio, driving past a gas station. You know what I see? None other than the man himself, Luciano, who according to Freckles, his followers refer to him as God." That is all a lot of persons show respect to people who them look up to, you know what I mean? People who them idolize, them call them God. Not necessarily meaning say them a try to say the person is God Almighty himself. You understand? Freckles also said, "When they were beating me, all I can remember is them saying, 'Don't allow him to touch the God. Don't allow him to touch the God.'" Freckles said that after seeing Luciano at the gas station, he calmly drove into the gas station, parked his vehicle, and walked towards Lucy and his people. He said, "On my way towards him, I saw a piece of iron pipe on the ground and I took it up. A man tried to hail me and I walked past him as if he was not there. I reached up to Luciano and started to put it on, and every man around him scatter." So what Freckles was saying, that him reach up to Luciano and start to beat him with the pipe iron, and every man around Luciano run based on the rage that Freckles was in. You know what I mean? He also said that Luciano fell to the ground and passed out. You know what I mean? So he knocked out Luciano with the pipe iron. Freckles also said that a man by the name of Mr. Andy walked up to him and said, "Freckles, stop." And that was when he stopped beating Luciano with the pipe iron. They reported it threw water on Luciano, the legendary singer, enabling him to regain consciousness, and then took him to the doctor. Freckles also said that he was never an individual to run to the media regardless of all that Luciano did to him. So peeps, you know, after having beaten Luciano with that piece of pipe and there, people, you know that Freckles sometime after received a phone call, as in a business phone call. And I mean, prior to that, he was getting death threats, but he was saying that he's not afraid of anyone and he's not running away. He is not hiding, you know. So Freckles get a phone call to go and do some business transaction, and I mean, and you know, Freckles was never seen or heard from since. You get the massive people. So it is believed that for some reason or the other, he was kidnapped and possibly murdered. You know what I mean, people? After so many years, we can safely say he was kidnapped and murdered. But by who, we do not know. A lot of people might want to put the blame on the singer, but at the end of the day, you can't really jump out and blame the singer because there was no evidence to suggest that he was the one who was involved in it, you know what I mean? Remember, this man beat Luciano. Luciano is an individual that a lot of people look up to, you know. So people can go on them own and take matters into them own hands and do some things more time without the artist even know about it. You get the massive people. But Luciano was never charged for this. You get the massive people. So, you know what I mean? People will always speculate, but we can't jump out and say him do it. You get me as a people. Even in a 2018, you know, Freckles' little daughter came out and was saying that she would like to at least know what happened to her father, you know what I mean? If he's dead, if he's alive, what happened, you know what I mean? People might even want to theorize that him run up on boat, you know what I mean? A lot of things. But people, based on my information, you know what I mean, and the way Freckles loved his little daughter, there's no way that he would have up and gone, leaving her to the dangers of the world. He would never just run away and leave his daughter, knowing how volatile, you know what I mean, and how hostile this world is that she has to grow up in. You get to me, I say, people, but you know what I mean, as I say, we can't say a Luciano. You get to me, I say, people, but you don't know, some people are going to draw a speculation there. You see me? People were alleging that these are some of the reasons why Luciano needed to have that man around him, Conqueror, who was a wanted man, you know what I mean, for protection. You get to me, I say, people, but that is just my bit on that whole situation. You know, you can leave your views in the comment section, and if there's something that I missed, then, you know, I stand corrected. Anyways, you can like, share, and subscribe. Peace.